energy drinks are bad for you. And if you're going to have two, when you're going to have a family function and you haven't drank alcohol in a long time, you were warned. So stay tuned. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully everybody's doing great. Today is March 1st, the very first of the month. Damn, dude, freaking time flies, bro. I think I could have sworn we just had New Year's Eve, we just celebrated all that, and now all of a sudden we are already in March. And we're kind of embarking on the year, and sorry, let me fix my mic here. I don't like that. Y'all see that shit? I don't like that. Anyway, damn, where do I start? So I missed my window of uploading the episode, I believe, last Friday, and there's a couple of reasons for it. So number one, we were celebrating my son's birthday. His birthday was back in early February, but we decided to obviously hold it yesterday just because life gets in the way, and soccer and sports and everything else in between. Life is just so busy these days that you barely have time to really do anything. You literally blink from 1 second to the next, and all of a sudden you're on to the next event. So we decided to host everything here at our house yesterday. And man, do I tell you, I got stories. And it's funny as hell to me that things always happen to me in particular. Now, whether I put myself in these circumstances or not is subjective, but I can honestly say that probably, yeah, it's my fault on this one. But anyways, yesterday we had a beautiful event. We had a big turnout. I finally saw a couple of people I haven't seen in a minute. One of them is my compadre, Kike, and his beautiful wife, Brenda, my comadre. And I haven't seen them in a while. And he's a musician from a couple bands. He plays locally here in the city. Phenomenal conga player. I call him my maestro because there's a lot of times where when I was first embarking or thinking that I was a good conga player, I would meet and run into him, and he would just teach me a few things and made me a much better musician in general. But I finally got to see him, and we chatted and we talked, and it looks like we're going to be collaborating on maybe a possible episode at some point. We might do a tandem or a duo one where he might be playing while we talk about certain subjects and review over mental health. He's a very big mental health advocate, and for troubled youths and things like that. So he's a great person. He's very sound, very warm, very loving. Well, they both are, but he just seems more in touch with chakra, more with vibes and feelings and emotions, and how people feel and how people are receptive to certain things. And then yesterday we were kind of talking about some episodes and some of the content that I spoke about. Obviously, some of which that I won't dive into because I don't want this episode to kind of go a different way than I originally wanted it to be. And in this case, it's basically me getting everybody a little bit of an update. So I will try to take part 2 today on the families that I spoke about last week. And this is what we are going to be talking about today. So we'll see if we get there. I'm going to keep the episodes a little bit shorter. I'm going to try to keep them around 30 minutes just because I see that a lot of people at 30 minutes, they kind of either drop off. So there's a little bit of a dip. So I'm going to break them up because I understand 30 minutes or an hour, it's a full-blown commitment to an episode. So let's go ahead and just try this one out, right? We'll figure it out. But I saw my family yesterday. And it was fun. It was warm to see. Seeing my son have one of his best buddies come over yesterday, somebody from TK, and seeing the child's interaction and my son's interaction. I'm playing and seeing how little kids and their growth in far as like their social settings, how they interact with one another is so funny. And sometimes I start to think like, damn, dude, obviously we were that way at one point, but it's amazing when you see the development in your children more and more and more and what they're doing now. And like I mentioned before, now that I've been sober now for a while, so I'm very receptive to every little thing that my kids are doing, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I see every good thing that they do and every bad thing and bad manners and mannerisms and things like that I definitely want to nip in the butt. But in this case, seeing my son kind of partake and engage with another little kid, it's pretty cute. So I saw them, I saw my cousins, my nieces, my nephews come over, and damn man, every time those guys come over, whew, it's a fucking blast. It's such a toss up. We are such a blessed family. In every single way. I mean, it's our family. You have to be really thick skinned, and I'm not sure if you guys' families are the same way. But every single time we see each other, I feel like it turns into a roast session. Whether it be somebody drinking too much or making an ass of themselves, it's a free for all. So it's like if you don't want to be caught in the crossfire, just be quiet. Otherwise, if you're gonna have an opinion, there will be an opinion of you, whether you like it or not. Whether it's funny or not, it's gonna be funny to us. But just seeing them interact with my kids and everybody that was there, I had other close friends. It was just a very, very good vibe, very good moment. And I was grilling for like damn near like 12 hours. By the way, you guys ever try a new recipe on grills, whether it be on tri-tip or on a brisket or something like that, or a dry rub, and then it's flawless. Like, I don't think I can replicate what I did yesterday. And I tried a different seasoning on these burgers that my wife got. By the way, they were Black Angus beef charbroiled patties. And I did them yesterday, and they were absolutely stunning. They were phenomenal. I mean, the taste was great. Everything was just on point. But it was such a big hit that I ran out through three. I went through 3 bags, and it was gone. And then I had to do another one, and that one was gone too, because everybody puts down food, and it was just like it was a big hit even for the kids. Everybody just kept on getting, multiple servings and things like that. So it was overall a massive success. But the problem is when you're doing that, you're not really sharing the grill with anybody. Everybody's in their moment. Everybody's having a good old time. Everybody's drinking, having beers. I've been very good. So everybody now finally knows how to respect that and kind of leave me to my own devices. And I had my energy drink, which I'll dive into that one, by the way. And I was good, and everybody was vibing. It was good music, good folks, good conversations. Everybody was just having their moment. And then finally, when I was done with the grilling, I decided to I'm gonna take a little bit of a break. But then people wanted to have some chicken patties as an alternative, right? So I did those, and those were a hit. Again, the seasoning that I used was on fire on both. So I grilled them, and they went away by the wayside. So I did another massive pack of those, and I burned through those, super crazy. And then, so now I am talking about, I started grilling around 11 o'clock in the morning. And by the time I finally finished grilling and completely, the grill was completely done, it was probably 8:30 in the evening. My eyes, I feel when you're grilling and you're so close to the smoke and it's literally just smoking the shit out of your eyes, it looked like you've been chiefing. It was horrible, dude. I kept on having to go to the bathroom and put on Clear Eyes because I was like, shit, people are gonna think that I'm fucking high as shit. And I'm not, because I don't smoke. So I'm like, damn, dude, all right. So I went back at it. I did that. And then finally, I decided to chill. However, one little tidbit. During this whole transition of going back and forth and prepping the meat and getting everything all inside, getting everybody all settled in, I had a second Red Bull. I had a second energy drink that I'm not going to mention the brand name or whatever, but it was not the ones that you think. It was supposed to be a healthier one, right? Which it is, low in calorie, etc., right? Because your boy's got to watch his weight. You know what I mean? And I had the second one, and then shit, I kid you not, dude, maybe 15 to 25 to 30 minutes after, I felt gassed. No, not awesome. I was gassed, bro. Have you ever been so tired, but you can't rest? My heartbeat was going do, 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 do. I literally had the effing shakes, bro. I was literally drinking water, and it stayed right here at the top of my throat, where I could literally, even for the life of me, I was eating Cheetos. I didn't like the taste or the texture. I felt like throwing up. So I went to the restroom, and I I relieved myself. And I don't know if that made the situation worse, but I think it made it worse. And I went back downstairs and I wanted to hydrate some more. And then I was drinking so much water so much fast, and then somebody had a bright idea of like, hey, why don't you put lemon in the water? And I drank, and I put the lemon juice with the water, and it made me feel even worse, more nauseous. So I went back upstairs, did my thing, and I came back out, and I was like literally pálido. In other words, I was pale, dude. Like, and for this man to go for this color skin to this color tone, sugar levels are and everybody was fucking. The thing that makes me so upset is like, we don't get together often, right? So usually when we do, we try to make the best of the moments, whether it's like doing a family game, whether it's telling stories. Like a couple of my nephews and my cousin was actually going about one of the episodes in particular that I did regarding La Llorona, and he's still waiting for a part 2. I'm like, bro, he's like, did you ever record part 2? I'm like, no, dude, I switched gears, bro. We're talking about like, these are the very, very first episodes of the podcast. We're talking about like episode maybe fucking 4. And then my other nephew's like, are you not, I thought you stopped like, recording and you're doing Selfless. I'm like, man, when was the last time you watched the episodes, bro? Then he goes like, nah, dude, I listened to him on Spotify. I'm like, I don't know, bro. Whatever it is, the point is that it was hilarious, right? Seeing all the whole reaction. And then we were just talking about that. But for me, the whole time, the whole conversation, I was having a hell of a time trying to keep up with everybody's topic, just because I was literally trying to keep myself alive and preventing myself from having to go to the hospital. And it was hilarious as hell, because I'm like, dude, I am not about to go to the hospital on my son's birthday party. I mean, that would be some shenanigans that I don't think my wife would like literally be happy about. So this whole time, right? So I'm thinking I'm feeling like shit, and I'm like, dude, I gotta tell my wife, right? I gotta tell my wife. But then she's in my mind, my subconscious ass, I'm like, dude, she's gonna think it's something else, right? So I'm like, but it's not. So quit stressing. But I was stressing because I know my wife very well. I'm like, dude, she's gonna be going ballistic. So finally I said, forget it. I'm like, hey, Moni. And then she's like, what? I'm like, I ain't feeling too good. She's like, what you mean? I'm like, I had 2 energy drinks. She's like, shut up, don't tell me. I'm like, yeah, I feel like this. Like, and then she's like, well, go walk it off. Go do a lap or some shit. So I'm like, fuck, dude, all right. So again, I'm not drinking. So I'm sober as hell. I'm just really, really having a very bad reaction to energy drinks. And if those of you who drink them a lot, dude, if you're not gonna be grilling or doing anything that's active, I don't recommend it unless you literally need it in the morning, like your coffee. I should have just stuck with my fucking coffee. I mean, Oscar's Cafe Corner, for God's sakes, dude. You would think I would stick with that, but no, I decided to go off the beaten path and joined everybody with a cold beverage. I could have had a cold brew, but no, I had a freaking energy drink. And I paid for it. So then I was outside later on in the evening. I was fucking pacing in our backyard where the basketball court is. I was going back and forth. I was contemplating doing burpees for a minute. I did about 2 sets of 20 push-ups. All of a sudden, I'm sitting there in the dark in the corner. It's so stupid. Like, if you go to my house, if you go through the backyard, there's a deck. There's a raised deck directly outside the patio sliding door. And then if you make a left, there's a massive grass and a huge willow tree. And then there's a basketball area. And then there's like a back 40 area that's like no man's land. But there's like a cement pad there. Like the previous owners had like their own picnic table and stuff. And I was there doing burpees. Doing push-ups. I'm like, and I'm like, fuck, dude, I need to seriously like make these things just calm the hell down. I was trying not to get anxiety because I knew that anxiety is not going to help the situation. It's not going to make it any better. It's just going to make it even worse. It's going to be a total shit show and a disaster. And I'm not trying to go to the ER when my family's here. That's the last thing I want, especially with these folks and the way that they are. Olvídate, mano. That's not what we want to do. So I'm over here pacing myself, and everybody's kind of catching wind like, bro, Oscar ain't right. They're like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm not doing well, bro. Like, I'm like, not. And my nephew's like, bro, you good? I'm like, no, dude, I'm not good, bro. Like, I'm telling you, man, I'm not feeling it. I had too many freaking energy drinks back to back, and I am not feeling it. I feel down, depressed, but energetic as hell. And my heart, I'm like keeping conscious of my heartbeat. I'm literally like checking my heart rate on the corner on the back 40 where nobody can see me because I don't want to be weird. And then to top it off, my stupid freaking watch, the battery dies. So now I'm like, damn, I can't even do that through my watch. So I'm like, dude, I have to seriously keep my composure and keep an even keel. And then finally, my wife has the bright idea because she has this calming drink that she uses when she wants to even out at the end of the day. It's like tea, but she makes it. It's made with magnesium and some other additives or whatever. But it's basically to balance out her mood, right? So she gave me a massive jug, dude. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like maybe like right here, like the size of my head with ice. And she's like, chug that shit down. And she goes like, and if you're not better in an hour, then obviously we're going to have to pay a visit to the ER. We're just going to have to wait, and everybody's going to have to cut out early. My in-laws had already left. So I'm like, fuck, dude, who am I going to leave the kids with? Right. So I'm looking at my brother-in-law and I tell him like, hey bro, do you think maybe? He's like, no, man, don't worry about it. Just go do what you got to do, right? So I'm like, all right, whatever. But fortunately, guys, at the end of the evening, everything was fine. Everything was absolutely back to normal. Unfortunately, it happened when everybody had already left. So I'm so pissed off, dude. By the time I finally got any sort of sense of normality, and for me in particular, everybody had left already. So I had nobody to really like talk to anymore. My wife was tired. I was exhausted. I put my son to bed and he passed out. By this time, I was like 11:30 at night. So I'm sitting there scrolling, looking at reels, super energetic and normalized. My mood is back to normal. And I'm like, bro, so I had a shitty night. Woke up the next morning, cleaned the backyard and do whatever. But if you guys take energy drinks, man, just be mindful of how often and how short of a span or short of a window that you take. Hold on one second. Let me pause. Yeah, like I was saying. So, but it's always something, right? And then the other thing that happened in the birthday party, which is always hilarious, something always happens. And me and my wife were talking about it in the morning. Like that something always happens, like for us in particular, either for me or for my father-in-law. And we were doing the piñata, and the piñata was a whole situation in itself. And I was not even made aware of this until later on. And my wife was like, hey, the piñata situation? I'm like, no, what happened? So it was my brother-in-law, Pete, and he's on the ladder. And then my father-in-law is assisting him with the piñata to make sure the piñata stays put. Now, again, these kids are not blindfolded, right? So we do it very old school. Now, there is zero disregard for the health of any human being that's holding on a piñata. It's basically these kids is kind of like it's free reign. So they start swinging, bro. And I mean swinging like hard. Like I'm talking about like some of these kids are baseball players themselves. So they're swinging for the fences. And they miss again. They missed more times than they actually struck. So what was funny to that my father-in-law was holding the piñata on one side, and they missed. So he was doing like a Zorro shit with it. He was like kind of swinging left and right because he was going to get hit with a damn bat. And mind you, he's in his 70s, man. So like this man he's nimble. He's very athletic even for his age. But shit, dude, the amount of times that Monica, my wife, basically said the amount of times that he might have been struck by somebody with a piñata stick was diabolically way too many. And then my daughter, my middle child, decides to swing as well, and she's pretty strong, and she misses, and she almost takes out my brother-in-law at the ladder at his kneecap. So it would have turned into something worse. I swear to God, dude, if somebody had been filming like a home video, this would have been one of those like home video type of things, like damn, like a memory, like a full-blown memory. And everybody was laughing, having a good old time. So if you're going to be assisting or being an uncle or being a nephew that's going to be assisting with the piñata thing, just be mindful of these kids and make sure you blindfold their asses, because I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but I feel like they were aiming purposely and targeting some of these individuals, but it was funny as hell. But the one thing that me and my wife always talk about is like something always happens, right? So later on in the evening was the whole energy drink situation. And before that was my father-in-law and everything that happened. And then we got to talking about stories and things that have happened and events and parties. And typically something always usually happens to me. So I wanted to share one story with you guys that is pretty funny as hell. And I would love to get your comments and see if you guys have had the same experiences where you guys have been. So a few years ago, when my wife and I were recently married, we had decided to join my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law at a lake house, at a vacation home in Comanche. And it's a beautiful home that was owned by my sister-in-law's parents. May they rest in peace. And everybody would go up there and it would be a family event. They would grab a boat. Everybody would go boating. We would go tubing. And it was just a fun weekend, right? So we decided to go up there. And we took whatever kids that at that time, they were pretty young. So we went up there and we wanted to make a party out of it, right? We wanted to make a vibe out of it. And we had a good old time. And when we got to the house, obviously the adults started adulting a little bit way too hard, to the point that I don't think the neighbors appreciated much of our shenanigans at that time. That I think they called the cops, if I recall, because they don't remember, or they had not been made aware that there was going to be a large crowd showing up to the house. And obviously we were pretty freaking loud. So they called the cops. The cops showed up, killed the party, killed the vibe. So then we were like, you know what, the following day, let's go ahead and do something a little bit different, right? So we decided to go. There's a casino nearby in Native American territory where we're at. So we decided to go. And the casino was beautiful. The food was great. And we're having dinner, whatever. And then I decided to go to the restroom. Now, do you guys know, or have you guys been to Las Vegas, to whether it's a nightclub or a really fancy restaurant, there's usually an assistant inside the bathroom that usually provides you with either napkins, they provide you with gum, deodorant, whatever it is you might need. And some nightclubs in Las Vegas, they do that. They even offer cologne for sale for you to use on yourself, or any sort of like anything for hygiene, right? So then I'm thinking, I walk in there and I see this guy in the corner, and he's sitting next to just what looks like paper towel or some shit. And I'm like, okay. So I do my business, right? I do number one, and then I go wash my hands. And then I proceed to walk right back out. And then the gentleman says, hey, and I noticed that all the paper towels are gone in the area where I'm supposed to be using them, right? So I look right at him and he's like, do you want help? I'm like, sure, right? So I thought he was going to grab the napkins that were right next to him. He grabs towels, right? And then he starts drying my hands. So I'm thinking like, damn, bro, this is really fucking great service in this place, right? It's so fucking embarrassing. I know what you guys are going to say. I already know what you guys are going to say. Like, Oscar, those are massive red flags. Okay, listen to me. I was enjoying the moment. So I said, fuck it. All right, dude, my hands, bro. So he starts drying my hand. It's like, okay. Sorry if I'm laughing so much, but I'm recalling the story. And then I walk back out and I go sit down and start talking to my family. And my family is like, we're all chatting and normal, casual conversation. And then at the end of it, my sister-in-law asks, so what do you guys think of the venue? What do you guys think of the place? And I'm like, oh, it seems pretty cool. And I was like, yeah, I was chiming in. I'm like, yeah, I actually like it a lot. It sucks that I lost money because, again, guys, remember, I don't like gambling. I was like, but this place does have really great customer service in the bathrooms, man. You even got assistants in the bathrooms. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, there's an assistant in the bathroom that helps you dry your hands like they do in Las Vegas, right? Because I think we had just come from Las Vegas, I believe the year before that. So all of this was just fresh in my mind. And their reaction was not what I expected. I I mean, it was more of like, it was more of that. It was just laughing. And I was like, what the fuck is so funny, right? Sorry. So I was like, what's funny? They're like, well, this place doesn't have that. I'm like, what do you mean this place does not have assistance in the bathroom? I just ran into somebody in the bathroom that helped me dry my hands. They're like, bro, no, there isn't none of that. I'm like, nah, you lying. I just saw the dude right now, man. Like, I literally saw the guy. So my sister-in-law calls the waitress over, and she's finishing taking an order, and she's like, hey, I got a quick question for you. Is there somebody in the bathroom that's like a bathroom assistant? And then she's like, no, like, we don't have those services here. And I immediately was in shock, right? Because at first you start thinking like, okay. Then your mind starts wondering like, who the hell was that dude, right? And then she proceeds to kind of ask further information like, hey, sir, what did the gentleman look like? So I described what he looked like, right? And after everything's all said and done, I hear her saying, no, sir, we don't have nobody by that person. We don't have bathroom assistants, period. And I was like, what you mean? And it turned into one big old thing. Like, they called the manager, everybody over to go check out the bathroom. Nobody was there. And it was just insane. So I don't know who the hell that guy was, but what his intentions were. But obviously, maybe the guy had some sort of fetish for hands. I don't know. I mean, but these aren't the prettiest fucking things on the planet. So I don't know what the hell we're talking about here, dude. But I was laughing the whole time, and so everybody was like, I felt embarrassed because I'm like, dude, I feel like really honestly dead ass like violated. And so I'm like, all right, this is not cool, right? So then whatever, the rest of the evening, we get our check. We got a massive discount from the restaurant, and then we decided to leave. And as we're getting into the elevator to go down to the parking garage where we park, you hear like over the radio, over the intercom, like, attention all, like, not bystanders, but attention all residents or guests, please be aware of blah, 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 blah. There is a gentleman inside a bathroom that is not blah, blah. So I'm like, wow, dude, I literally made it on the freaking intercom. And people inside the elevator with us, they're like, dude, can you believe that shit? And then my brother-in-law was like, yeah, that was this guy. I was like, yeah, fucking buddy, that was me, dude. But again, like, you laugh at these things now, right? But again, if that happened to either one of your kids, obviously it'll be a whole total different reaction. But what you're going to notice a little bit about me, that there's a lot of these stories that have happened to me in particular. And I'll share another story real quick. So my wife and I were planning, this is before that, we went to Vegas. And when we went to Vegas, we had a whole big plan of living it up, and we were with my brother-in-law, and we stayed at the Mandalay Bay Hotel, and beautiful. And my wife and I, we hadn't had kids yet, so we wanted to make the best of it. We wanted to like enjoy Vegas to its full extent, which we did. But the first night that we got there, we literally started. We were drinking from the second that we got on that plane. From that we landed, we continued drinking even more, and then we went to the hotel and we rested for a little bit. And then the idea was that all of us were going to get together and we were going to go walk the strip, right, before the night time. So then we got up, and then we were walking the hotel, and we went to Caesar's Palace. We went to Coyote Ugly after the movie came out. And when we ordered a couple of yardsticks. And I don't know if you guys know of, in Las Vegas, they have yardsticks that are literally about the height of a yard. And it's nothing but just alcohol. Imagine like an AMF and like an Adios MF on a massive yard. And then me and my brother-in-law are like, bro, can you throw up some 151? Now, again, 151 Bacardi is one of the strongest proof alcohols that there are. Now, I don't think they even allow it. I think it's banned in some places. But in this one, we added the 151 on top of the AMF yardstick. So then we're like, that ain't shit. Add two more of that, right? Okay, so let me tell you the rest of that shit. So as we're walking, I kid you not, guys, I don't remember 80% of that, of that fucking walk. And my wife, for the love of God, dude, I feel so bad. And my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law and I were so gone, dude. We were so faded. Gone. I mean, 151 in a yardstick with an Adios that's basically all blended in together. The fact that we weren't throwing up was amazing because we didn't. And then after that, all I remember is us going to the M&M factory. And then I remember getting there. I remember checking out, and I remember coming back to the hotel room with the stipulation that, hey, we were going to get up for dinner later on. And we were going to have lunch. We were going to have dinner before we went to the nightclub. Oh my God, guys. All I remember is falling asleep. Then I woke up like at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, where the fuck am I? I still had my clothes on. My wife was livid. I mean, I tell you, I was in the doghouse probably for the rest of that trip. Like, not to that level. And then I spoke to my brother-in-law the following day, and they apparently my other sister-in-law, my other brother-in-law came over to try to wake me up. I was passed out, snoring like crazy. And then they went to the other room where my other sister-in-law was at, and my brother-in-law passed out of the tub. He literally took a bath and went to sleep. So it's like we both were so fucked up. Our poor wives had to get us out of the she had to get him out of the bathtub and put him in the bed. And then with me, it was like the same thing. We just didn't wake up. The next day, I think we got up like around 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, hungover as shit. Deshidratado, all dehydrated as hell. And we made a good evening out of it. But in every single thing, I think that we've gone to, there's always been some sort of story like that, some sort of shenanigans, like something that's happened with us in particular. Now, I did want to chime in too, because to the answer of my cousin's question. So, La Llorona. So, because he brought up his own story, which, by the way, I'm going to be interviewing him. Disclaimer: the gentleman is a little bit off. Okay, so he's going to be touching on certain points, and his delivery and his perspective is very different than a lot of people might be receptive to. So I gotta fucking really edit that fucking video when I have him on, because I have a feeling he's gonna go sideways. And then my boy Kwame, that's another episode. So I have 3 upcoming episodes that I got to plan. One is with my compadre Kike. One is with my brother-in-law, not my brother-in-law, but my buddy Kwame. And we're going to do that one. He also wants to do podcasting as well, so it'd be good practice for him. And the last and final one is my cousin, Robert. And damn, that one's going to be crazy. I'm probably going to go live on that one. But I'm kind of apprehensive just because I know how he is. But we shall see. But anyways, back to that answer. So Robert, just so you know, its origins, it's La Llorona origins is basically in Xochimilco. It's known for being a Malintzin in her original nomenclature today. The lore of La Llorona is well known in Mexico and southwestern United States. The earliest documentation of La Llorona is traced back to the 1550s in Mexico City. But the Aztec mythological creation, Aztec, is the hungry woman, includes a wailing woman constantly crying for food, which has been compared to La Llorona's signature nocturnal wailing for her children. The motherly nature of La Llorona's tragedy has been compared to Quetzalcoatl, an Aztec goddess, a deity of motherhood, her seeking of children to keep herself and significantly Our Lady Mother. So it's based on Aztec mythology as well. There's a lot of ties to it. Now, he chimed in and he included other parts of it that it could be tied to Greek mythology, like Kronos and all that stuff. But again, I will let him explain some of this stuff. Now, again, all the stuff that he will say and dive into and give it and provide his opinions of are subjective. Okay, so bear with it. It's going to be a comedic episode. I might even include one of my nephews, Chris, because him and Chris are always bad at butting heads. I don't know if you have that with your kids. Like, you have one in particular that is just itching at just to kind of crap on any content that you got to say. I guess that's the way they show their love, but it's hilarious. And then my other nephew, Tito, he's more of like the instigator, just providing some crazy ass recaps. Damn, those guys are hilarious as hell. But anyways, thank you very much for joining in. Like I said, I didn't want to dive into too many topics. I will come back as normal, as scheduled, with certain topics. I will finish off the episode, the part 2, in regards to the families. I will touch on the Vanderbilts in particular in that family. I will touch on into the Bush family. I will touch into the Kennedys and how it all manifests and how it all kind of translates to the whole Illuminati thing and controlling. The other thing too that's currently in the news, and I'll dive into that as well, is a little bit the whole thing that's going on with Iran. And I know it's a sensitive topic for a lot of folks, but definitely want to dive into it and kind of give a little bit of brief history. Again, the history that I will be providing is not going to pick either side. It's more of like neutral. I'm going to try to provide as many facts as possible because I want to give that story their justice. I don't want it to be half-assed where I only speak on one more than I speak on the other and their origins, okay? So we're going to touch on that. But apart from that, if you've stayed on for this long, thank you so much. I look forward to getting the comments and getting the feedback for some of you regarding this episode and some of the stories. Now, again, if some of you have some of these stories as well that you guys want to share, please feel free to chime in, put them in the comments, provide some feedback, send me an email with either recommendations or something else that maybe we should do with the channel. So with that being said, thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for listening. God bless, stay safe, and be well. Good night.